Hi, I'm Quincas and I'm a Synth DIY guy. Welcome to today's video, which is the demo video for the Cubusynth engine dual complex chaotic oscillator, however you might want to call it. I've just built this and you can watch me build it. You can watch the construction video. It's the last video I uploaded in the channel. We are also going to have a look at the exhaust, which is the expander for the engine that connects from behind, and it lets you mix certain outputs and even add octave, sub-octave generators and such. We'll have a look at that as well. But the main thing here today is the engine itself. The engine is a dual oscillator, so you can use it as just two regular oscillators. The cores are based on the 3340 chip. There is an individual output for each kind of waveform. So let's have a look at the sine wave for oscillator 1. There it is. Nice sine wave. A little pointy, but very nice. Right? And I did calibrate it to respond to a volt per octave. So let's plug in my keyboard here, the KeyStep Pro. We'll plug it into input right here. Right? Tunes very nicely. Here's the square wave, and there's a nice chunky pulse width knob here. Right? The pulse width is actually normalized to the chaotic output. So if I just turn up without putting anything in there, we start getting this chaotic pulse going on there. Right? Well, we'll have a look at the chaotic functions a little later. Here's the saw wave. Turn that down a little bit. Right? Classic saw wave. And the triangle wave over here. A little louder there. Not as many harmonics, so it sounds softer. And each side has a wave folder, right? So there's a folder output over here. And the switch, this switch over here that illuminates different waveforms, this one determines which waveform is going into the wave folder. And as you can see, why am I not seeing anything out of this folded output? Because of the offset. There's an offset. Let me turn this back to auto. There you go. See, there's a positive offset, and you can fix that with a mod. If you got this pre-built, you won't have that offset, but if you built it yourself, you will need to apply one of the suggested mods in order to fix the offset if you want to. I don't mind it myself, sounds good enough. It's also a little softer than some of the other outputs, and you can also adjust that by modding a resistor on the output. Sounds really nice. The wave folder sounds really nice with the sine wave. Here's with the triangle. Very nice as well. Here's a nifty feature of the wave folder. If you send it a negative voltage, you can get silence, which means that if you mix an offset with an envelope, you can use it as a VCA. See? We've got pretty much silence here, and as I turn up my little knob, I let that sound through or not. So on a pinch, you can use these wave folder outputs as the wave folders rather as VCAs as well, right? Here's the wave folder for the other side. But we have some normalizations going on here, and this is the saw wave being folded here. Here's the triangle and the sine. Right? The pulse width modulation. We can take the pulse width output here. Let's turn that volume a little bit down. And here's the pulse width modulation knob. Right? And you can apply chaos to that pulse width by just turning up the pulse width knob. It's normalized to chaos. Also, let's go back to a softer wave here. Triangle maybe. Oh, there's the hard sync is going on here. Right? So there's hard sync, soft sync, and off position here. So now it's off. Now, the chaos engine of the engine is a shift register, so it's similar to the wrangler on a Benjamin or the Turing machine random or chaotic sequencer, in that it's using the two cores of both oscillators to interpolate and with the analog with the shift register and get these chaotic voltages that are normalized to the exponential FM inputs of both oscillators, as well as the pulse width modulation. So if I turn up exponential FM without having plugged anything into it, we start listening to that, we start hearing that chaos. Very cool. Right, and the LEDs around the chaos knob, which is an offset knob, those LEDs are also very active. And since the shift register is taking from the pulse width wave, the pulse wave, affecting the pulse width on the oscillators will change the chaos, see? And oscillator 1 is normal to the clock input of the chaos generator, right? So if I don't plug anything into here, this is our clock right here, oscillator number 1. Very cool. Right? Now if I want to use something else as a clock, I can grab an LFO here, for example, send that to the clock input over here, and now our oscillators are free to interact in different ways and generate chaotic voltages. Now let's go to the exhaust here. Let's take the mix output from the exhaust, because now what this allows us to do is take mixed output from VCO2, right, and I can choose which waveform I'm sending it to there with the switch right here, and I can mix it with VCO1 here, and VCO1 is not receiving chaos, but I will turn up exponential FM here, and now it is, right? I can use a faster oscillator maybe to get the faster chaos here. Cool, kind of video gamey kind of stuff. And now as we change the relationship between the oscillators, they'll sound different, but they'll also affect the chaos generation, right? Very nice. And I can add in a sub-octave or a sub-sub-octave, right? So divide by 2, divide by 4, and I can select with the switch on the exhaust, I can select if VCO1 or VCO2 are the source for the sub-octave generator. Okay? Here's 2 octaves below. Very cool. Now, the exhaust expander also has an AM output here, which is the amplitude modulation. So the engine has a comparator output, which is the 1 versus 2 output, compares the two oscillators and outputs a pulse when one is louder than the other. Ring modulator, it's based on a logic gate. I think it's an XOR logic gate that generates this ring mod. The amplitude modulation, where one modulates the amplitude of the other, and the chaos output. So you have these 4 outputs available here, as well as routing internally. The external knob on the expander, as you can see here, the external input is normal to ring mod, right? So right now we're listening to the ring mod output of the oscillators. And both are being controlled by the chaos generation, which is being clocked externally from my middle path VCO over here, right? Again, if I pull this out, oscillator 1 is now the clock for the chaos. The switch over here, the order switch, changes the emphasis of the chaos generation, like which variable has more weight, something like that. I'm not very good at explaining this part. Check the manual, please. Yeah, and the internal routing, as well as the wave folding and what's sent to exhaust, are all determined by the position of this 4-position switch that flips through the different waveforms, right? So our 1 volt per octave inputs are linked, so that means that both oscillators are responding to the full process control here. Now let's get rid of the chaos a little bit and just listen to some of the timbres that we can achieve. Right now we're listening to the ring mod output. Now if I turn that down and just turn oscillator 2, the linear FM input is normaled, cross-normaled between the two oscillators, right? So oscillator 2 normal to linear FM input 1, and VCO 1 is normal to linear FM input 2. So if I turn this knob up, now we're applying linear frequency modulation from oscillator 1 to 2. And that'll give us a wide variety of different timbres, right? FM sounds. And as they're linked, they move together and the timbre remains constant throughout the range. Now I can cross-modulate them, right? Send one back to the other and get some even cooler sounds that way. And even, why not turn up, mix both oscillators together. There's a fine control of the pitch as well. Nice. Look at that waveform. Right, so a full range of crazy sounds possible here. Now let's go back to listening to the oscillator itself, because I want to try something cool. I'm going to use the folders in stereo. So check that out. I'm going to send each folder to one side of my stereo field over here. And we're going to listen to what that sounds like. Cool. Listen to that stereo texture. I hope you're wearing headphones, by the way, or at least listening through decent studio monitors. Right, now we can send modulation, we can send external modulation to the folding parameters. Right, here's an LFO from Kermit, and here's another LFO from Kermit. And to the fold CVs. Very cool. Super cool. I get that swirly stereo kind of sound. Let's record a sequence here. There you go, just crazy sequence I did here without listening to the metronome, so that we can now play around with the let's turn on the linear FM and listen to them without FMing each other, just folding. That's cool. Very nice. Very nice stereo sounds. Let's make the LFO slower. Now let's add a little bit of chaos, right? As I've said, the chaos signal generated by the shift register that's connected to both oscillator cores. This is normal to the exponential inputs of both oscillators. So let's turn that up. And on the other one. And let's start getting chaotic, as is to be expected, right? Very cool. So now it's a combination of the sequence coming out of my KeyStep Pro and the chaos generation internally there. Now let's turn off the KeyStep Pro and only listen to the chaos. Cool. And again, right now, Oscillator 1 is acting as a clock for the chaos generation. Alright, and the pulse width effects. The order switch affects it. The position of the chaos knob. Now let's go back to listening to just one output, and we'll listen to the sine wave output here, because what I want to do is check out some of the sync sounds. So we'll put hard sync here. We'll turn off the chaos for now, right? And see, this is those cool sync oscillator sounds. This is hard sync right now. Why don't we send an LFO to the exponential FM input so we can add that sweep, that cool sync sweep, right? Okay, here's my sequence again. Cool. I'm adding a little chaos to the first oscillator here. Now we're combining, right? Combining syncing with FMing, with pulse width modulation, with chaos generation. And the possibilities are infinite. Cool oscillator. So fun. Let's make this a little simpler now. Turn off all of the FM and chaos. And now we'll listen to soft sync. Yeah, the difference is subtle already. There's soft sync. Here's hard sync. Hard sync, soft sync. Yeah, in some positions you can't really even hear much of a difference at all. Cool. So what haven't I shown you? Let's have a listen to the ring mod. And we'll select sine waves. And no sync. Here we go. Very cool ring mod out. Stop the sequence. Now, when we turn off some of the chaos. Interesting, right? Oh, the AM output. This is the amplitude modulation output. It's like a failing starship engine or something. And the chaos. The chaos is a CV that you would use for something else. But if you have the clock at audio rate, then it becomes a sound as well, right? Which you can use as a sound source. You can see the offset's real low, right? But still, although mainly you would use it like with a slower clock and as a voltage source to modulate some parameter somewhere else. Cool. So here I am again at the triangle output, and we're sending it chaos. And yeah, this is really what I like to do with this module most of all. Just play with the chaos and the internal normalizations. They really allow for some really interesting and fun sounds and sound design and so on. Right. So I think that covers pretty much most of what the module offers as far as ins and outs and stuff, but the sounds are just infinite. Like, there's no end to the possibilities that you can get combining FM, chaos, pulse width modulation, soft sync, hard sync, wave folding. It's really got everything in this oscillator, and it's fully analog. So that concludes it for today. I hope you liked the video. If you haven't, check out my build video of this module as well. And stay tuned for upcoming cool videos very soon. So that's it. See you soon. Stay noisy.